Black women. You know, I told you that I've taken journalism classes and I've taken cinema classes, and one of the things that I like to do is look at old documentaries and newsreels and that type of stuff. And I was watching an interview with the late serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. And the reporter that was interviewing him, she asked him a very specific question. She asked him why he drug his victims before he had sex with them and eventually killed them and ate them. For those of you that may not know who Jeffrey Dahmer is, I'm going to leave some links up at the bottom. But apparently about maybe 20 or 30 years ago, he was a serial killer from, I think, Ohio. And he was a cannibalist, too. And he was a closet homosexual, and the majority of his victims were black men. And he would drug them, and he would rape them, and then he would kill them, and he would eat them, and keep their body parts in his freezer and so forth. But the response that he gave, the response that Jeffrey Dahmer gave when he was asked, you know, why did you drug your victims? And he said, well, I was afraid of rejection. I didn't want them to say no. And I thought that was really very interesting. It wasn't that he simply wanted to overpower his victims. He was simply afraid of being rejected. Now, if you look at Jeffrey Dahmer, he's not a very attractive guy. He was a Caucasian man, kind of nerdy looking, kind of geeky looking. So you can kind of understand why anybody probably would not have found him attractive. Which leads me to what this video is about. You know, just a few days ago, I'm happy to say that many women, many victims of Bill Cosby's sick perversion were able to see justice served. I couldn't believe it. I saw Gloria Allred standing under black umbrellas in the rain with many of Bill Cosby's victims, and they were crying. They were crying because finally somebody heard them, somebody believed them, and they were able to see justice served. And these women had all pretty much a common denominator. They had not only been sexually assaulted by Bill Cosby, but they had been drugged. And I remember, I think it was last year, I was looking at a video of Beverly Johnson. Now, Beverly Johnson, I didn't know this, I had no idea, but apparently she made history like 40-something years ago. She was like the first black woman to ever grace the cover, I think, of Vogue magazine. And I think she made a statement that, you know, she was given like a drink or something by Bill Cosby, and the next thing you know, she couldn't move. She was conscious, but she couldn't move her legs or her arms or anything. And Bill Cosby, he did things to her body, sexual things to her body, without her consent. And I thought to myself, wow, you know, Bill Cosby, unbelievable. I was talking to the elders in my family, and they were like shocked. Many of them had been fans of Bill Cosby, going all the way back like to the 60s. I don't know, I mean, I'm not really into old comics, but apparently he was a stand-up comic. He had a television show, several of them, and I don't know, he was like an icon in the black community. One of my elders said that he was sort of like the black version of Mr. Rogers. He was just like, you know, the nice black guy next door. And I was surprised that somebody with his wealth and his power would have to do something like this. I mean, first of all, the guy was married. Married, and not only was he cheating on his wife, but he was having raw sex with these women. I mean, his wife should be lucky that she didn't contract HIV, herpes, syphilis, hepatitis. But, you know, I was just shocked. I mean, look, nobody's going to accuse Bill Cosby of being the sexiest man alive. I mean, I've seen pictures of him when he was young, and he wasn't attractive then, and he's not attractive now. And he didn't get to make it in Hollywood based on his looks, but because he was a talented guy. Usually guys that are not very attractive have to do stuff like this. They have to drug women, rape women. They have to use their power and their money to get women. Kind of like Harvey Weinstein, you know, not a very attractive guy, but, unattractive men do a lot of sick shit to get women in bed. And so I felt bad for his wife, Camille Cosby, because I can't imagine having to wake up every single day next to a coon, next to a rapist, next to a sexual predator. I can't imagine having the father of my children be a coon, a rapist, not a pedophile, but, a sexual deviant, a pervert, a sexual aggressor. I mean, I feel bad because not only did he humiliate his wife, embarrass his children, ruin his legacy, but he violated other human beings for his own personal hedonistic pleasure. And I think that's disgusting. And I'm very upset about that. But my joy overrides that being upset because the man is in prison and he's going to die in prison. I don't give a fuck how old he is. Age has nothing to do with you committing crimes. If you're a rapist, you're a